Okay, it's still day 2 at Paris Air Show, and we're here. ABN is here talking to many of the exhibitors. We're lucky enough now to be invited inside into an air-conditioned unit because it's very hot out there. I'm joined by Ben Driggs, Driggs is the Chief Strategy Officer at Honeywell. We're in Honeywell's chalet. It was one of the, anyone who's been to an air show knows the chalets are the place to come because they're very nice places, serene, calm, and outside it's all chaos. But Ben, thanks for inviting us in to talk to us about what Honeywell's up to and talking to clients about it at Paris Air Show. Let's get into it. I know there's 3 key themes. We'll go through them, but the first one we're going to talk about is the electrification of the aircraft, essentially. Now, everyone would assume there's a lot of electrification already in an aircraft, but what are you developing, and why is there demand for more electrification inside an aircraft these days?
Well, Lee, great to have you here. Great to have you in the chalet. Paris Air Show is such a great event and really fun to meet everyone in the industry here. When we think about electrification, it's really about efficiency of the aircraft. You want to make the aircraft use less energy overall. You want to make it more efficient. You want to make the flight more efficient. So I think what we're seeing first is more electrical actuation. So you're flying, instead of by pneumatics, hydraulics, you're flying by
wire.
By wire, exactly. We're one of the leaders in fly-by-wire flight controls, and we're one of the leaders in actuation doing this. You also want the whole cabin pressure system, the cooling system, all the bleeder, all the things that make it possible to survive at 40,000 feet, be more electrical and therefore more efficient. And there's kind of 2 parts to that. One, you need, with all this more batteries, all these more electronics that are on the sort of newer generation of aircraft, you got a lot more heat.
Yep.
You got to manage that heat. You got to cool the heat. And high density cooling is actually one of the things Honeywell has been doing for its 100-year history, nearly.
Yeah.
And what we found is new breakthrough technology used to use air cycle cooling. Now it's vapor cycle cooling, 30% more efficient, 25% less weight, and provides in a smaller space that more intense cooling that's needed as you add all of these things using a lot of electricity that used to be pneumatic or hydraulic on the airplane. So we just had an announcement today as an example, our Attune system. Attune is the name for our vapor cycle cooling system. It's won now 6 positions on different platforms, all different markets. It is present in business aviation. It started off in the advanced air mobility. Right. So people who were looking at these, a lot of batteries, looking at electric flight, it started off there. And then today in the rotorcraft helicopter world, it was announced that it is on the Bell helicopter for the U.S. Army going forward on FLRAA. So that's an example of electrification. You got to cool it, and then you got to have all the little electric systems that's really efficient.
Yeah.
And so we have Ashore is our new actuation system. And that's another place. It's found in advanced air mobility. That was kind of the tech playground, if you will, for a lot of the electrification technologies.
So quite a lot of this tech is coming from these sectors that are emerging and then bringing into the mainstream.
And then it's going into fixed wing, rotorcraft, missiles, you name it, across the board. So Attune and Ashore, Attune cools it. Ashore is the electric actuation that makes it possible. Those both started in some of these really new areas, and then it finds its way into others. Classic story of what's happened in the aerospace industry for decades.
Which is there's lots of those guys exhibiting here. We saw Archer yesterday with an amazing futuristic looking craft, which will fly. I mean, that is coming. Exactly. But actually, some of the technology they've developed for that is now bleeding out into the industry. So that's where innovation happens, isn't it?
Well, and Archer's the perfect example. Yeah. That Archer aircraft has Attune and Ashore. Right. It has our cooling system. Yeah. It has our actuation system. Yeah. Now those same systems are in the fixed wing and traditional rotorcraft world. Yeah. And perfect example.
But it's also what you find with anything like this. You've got clear advantages with electrification. Okay. Yeah. And you can see that. That's clear. But it always brings challenges as well, because this is a very complicated thing to put into the air, and there's safety issues around it. Exactly. So it's not a win-win. You have to then mitigate the impact. So batteries are heavy, lots of wiring involved, things can go wrong. Exactly. So safety is the next big topic. Yeah. So the key thing is that this is done in a safe way. So how does Honeywell make sure that with every advance, there isn't a
Yeah.
counterbalance to that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and that's really one of the benefits of this, 100+ year history. We know what it takes to get something certified. We know what it means to go to 99.9 to the fourth degree. We know how to sort of do all these things in the type of testing that you need to do, the type of doing that, and that's where I think, to me, it's kind of exciting, this AM space. You see a historical player like Honeywell that certified things on hundreds of aircraft with a breakthrough technology, and where can those two things meet and really encourage innovation? The other areas that we really see going into safety is around how do you make the situational awareness of the pilot better? One of the other things we're really excited about in this show, just had an announcement, Southwest Airlines is putting on their fleet of 800 aircraft our smart landing, smart runway system. Well, that's a system that will give the pilots visual and audio alerts when they're coming in for a landing. Are they coming in too long?
Yeah.
Are they coming too fast? Are they accidentally landing on a taxiway instead of the runway? When they're on the ground, are they in the right place and doing that? Because when you think about safety, you have to have all the systems safe, and then you got to make the pilot get all the right information at the right time. So the pilot has full situational awareness, and that's always been the challenge of the aerospace industry. Is the challenge of flight, situational awareness for the pilot. And you got to look at where are there areas where they don't have enough, and how can you improve it? That's kind of our philosophy.
There's always an issue, I guess, on that. I mean, think about pilots, but anybody where technology is coming into your field of work.
Exactly.
You go, well, I think I know I'm good at what I do. Why do I need this technology to help me be better than that? I mean,
exactly.
There's a cultural issue, and that is key to adoption. If the people themselves don't accept the technology, they won't adopt it, and it doesn't, and it fails, even though it's probably good technology. So,
exactly.
You think you're seeing an attitude where we know technology can help us now. We know we're not too egotistical to think that we know everything and we're just very good at what we do. Is there an attitude where that is pervasive? Do you think in aviation?
Well, you do need to. The ultimate thing is you got to consider the human factors.
Yeah.
Technology is only as good as a human can understand it and wants to use it.
Yeah.
And we actually have we call the HUE group, the Honeywell user experience. Every product has got to have someone from that team on to say, how is the maintainer, pilot, whoever actually going to interact with the technology? Are you making it easy? Is this in line with how they currently do their job so they can easily digest it? And then what you have to do is you have to bring in the pilots or the maintainers, when you think of an engine that we make or other things like that, you have to bring those people in and get real feedback.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that...
Big part of the process, really.
Exactly.
Don't just impose it onto people, because there's being pushed back.
Exactly. And one of the things which we have Honeywell user groups in business aviation, in commercial aviation with the airlines, and we even have it in defense, where they come and meet, and real people who use the products will test it out and give us feedback.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you learn every time the Honeywell user group comes and interacts, we learn something new. We learn something that we hadn't thought of, saying, wow, okay, you know what? The alert needs to come in this way. It needs to be at this time. That's not maybe the language we would use, have something else. So we do find the human factors has to be from the start of the design of a product. If you think about it at the end, you're going to have missed it.
Yeah.
And even things like how many knob switches, how many buttons do you have to press? If it's, if it's 3 or more,
it won't happen. It's got to be intuitive, isn't it? It's everything. Intuitive technology is great, is the best. There's also we mentioned this before we started, but we're in an industry that is having to bring on new people quickly. We haven't got enough.
Yes.
So there are inevitably less experienced pilots, all sorts of technicians, etc., in the industry. So technology can really help them to be, better than their experience would allow.
Exactly.
So that's one of the key benefits.
It is. As one of the major avionics suppliers, we always talk about is it has to be intuitive flight. Are our avionics making it intuitive, easy to understand? And we have a new integrated cockpit that just won a Bombardier platform. It's called Anthem. So you can think of our tune. We're trying to get as many A names as possible. A tune, a shore, and Anthem. Easy.
As long as it begins with an A, you'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. The AAA combination there. But Anthem, that was really the thought: is bigger displays, more intuitive ways to display the information, more intuitive ways to get to the information you need, and because we have there's a wave of new pilots we need to train.
Yeah.
These pilots are used to a lot of interactions with screens and other things.
Yeah.
Let's make it intuitive. Let's make people understand it. And that's, again, one of those things you have to consider human factors early on. You have to get it early, and you have to make it really easy to understand.
Yeah.
I go back to, I remember when we first introduced synthetic vision. You used to just have blue-green, right, on the screen if you're a pilot.
Yeah.
Now we start to put the 3D image on there. Again, a change, but once people start to see that and the more awareness it gave them, suddenly became, this has to be the standard.
Yeah.
And you would see old cockpits go, the adoption was twice the rate that we thought for synthetic vision because it made it that much more intuitive, even for very experienced professional pilots.
And you got the next generation, they've grown up with incredible interaction screens at home, and they expect they would wonder it's a bit odd to go to work and find it's
exactly two colors and that's
it. And it also builds trust, I guess, in the system, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Obviously, at the moment, for reasons that are very tragic, safety is a big key thing in the industry, and we have to just acknowledge that. But we know this is an industry that takes that extraordinarily seriously.
Yeah.
Things will happen, but it learns from every incident. It shares that learning. So I think it's. We've been talking about safety today. It's just got a little bit of peak-on of importance that we. As an industry, we focus on that.
It does. And obviously, tragic incident with the Air India flight. But even before then, people were, there's a lot of instances. We pride ourselves in the industry about an incredible safety record. And exactly as you said, every incident is an opportunity to learn, and an opportunity to learn about what we can do better. And that is, the industry continues to follow that. And that's one that we continue to look at very closely. And what I am also very impressed with is regulators care about safety. So that interaction with the regulatory bodies, looking at what are new safety technologies, and that open dialogue of how can we continue this amazing safety record, as a form of transportation that the aviation industry is at, how can we keep improving that? In that dialogue, again, you got to do it with the operators, you have to do it with the regulators, and you have to sort of continue to push that. That's a good example. This runway safety that Southwest just adopted, there's tremendous interest on the regulators on that because they've noticed, people can easily think they're on a taxiway and actually be on a runway.
Okay.
Or you can easily. So now there's a lot of interest in, how can we address that through technology? We've addressed so many areas through technology for safety. And what I like is we keep thinking about what's the new area where there's something new that can help.
I was thinking when you were talking about how Honeywell's got a long history of getting things certified and working with regulators.
Yes.
Is there do you feel there's an attitude amongst the regulators of allowing things to happen? It can sometimes be it stymies innovation and it prevents things, and it's cautious. It's very safety first, which should be, I'm sure. Yeah. But also the regulator needs to also understand that advances need to happen. Yeah. Is there a sense, do you think, that is they're interested in pushing this along and making sure that it's all done as quickly as possible, but as safely as possible?
I think there is. I think the dialogue is really positive. Okay. I think there's a lot of openness to understanding new technology, and there's a lot of the need for innovation. Let's look at, I think you can look at EASA, FAA, all agencies throughout. Everyone was really sincerely engaging in the discussion. So I actually feel really good about that as industry. And the working groups that have been established for so long help that. Yeah. There is no regulatory body that doesn't have industry, all groups represented in an ongoing dialogue. Yeah. Which I think not every industry can say that.
Maybe not. Yeah, that's the thing.
Which is
work together positively.
Yeah.
The final thing we were going to talk about was autonomy. We sort of almost got there a minute ago, and this is the third big area that Honeywell is pushing on. Yeah. There's a lot going on in the military side of it, but as you said, that will come into civil. But talk to us about where that's going with autonomous flight.
Yeah. Well, we like to use the phrase path to autonomy, right? And you start off with automation, and then you get to autonomy eventually. Automation is giving information and having things done, automatic. Autonomy is when it can actually make decisions. It can see, think, and react. And obviously, it is a roadmap that you sort of go to it. We had the big news for us on autonomy here at this show is we actually did a flight on an AW139 that Honeywell owns with Honeywell and our partner NEA, Near Earth Autonomy. And we did an autonomous flight for the U.S. military of that rotorcraft.
Right.
So that's sort of showing the technology, showing the ability to do this. This flight just happened recently, and showing that. I think there's a lot of interest in this. Obviously, it is a road of we can automate things, and then you make things gradually going to autonomy. And I think as we go and provide more and more flight hours proving these things, again, you start to sort of go down that path and get people more and more confident and can make flight more autonomous going forward. So I'm enthusiastic about it. Again, you may see it things be adopted first in the military world.
Yeah.
People getting very used to unmanned everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think the more and more flight hours, the technology, as it more and more proves out, I think, again, it's this path starting by reducing the pilot workload, by providing more information. That kind of is that path. To autonomy.
Yeah, you can see it happening. It's happening in military. You can see it happening in maybe the world of cargo.
Yes,
exactly. Cargo flights, where the payload, isn't
exactly
a living
exactly
thing. Where it ends up with in terms of commercial flights and ferrying people around, who knows? It's an open question, I guess.
Exactly.
Do you ever see a time when people will go, I'd rather trust a pilotless craft than I would one where there's a pilot in charge?
It's hard to say. I think that time is well into the future. But I think, again, every step helps. And to your point, military, cargo, let's learn what we can there. Let's give more automation. Let's sort of go down that road. And, the one thing we know about humans is they adapt amazingly well.
Yeah.
And, as people see and understand and as people get confidence, I think it sort of gets to that point where they can do it. There was a time of, do you trust the, automatic car to shift on its own, and then, everyone, well, is it, you sort of, let alone don't think about Waymo or sort of autonomous drive. First, people had to get used to automatic, gear switching.
we used to have people walking in front of cars with a flag.
Exactly.
In case people got run over because they go so quick.
Exactly.
Things change.
But humans adapt. That's one thing we know for sure.
So, Chief Strategy Officer. So, interesting job title. You do strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
So it can be quite broad description.
Exactly.
When you're doing strategy, what are you looking at doing? How do you do strategy for Honeywell?
It's for market first. Understand what are the market trends, what's going on in the market, what do operators care about, what are passengers doing. Any good strategy is market backed. And that's what we say, it's a market backed strategy, market first. We interview thousands of operators every year to get that primary data. We look at trends, and then you say, given what's going on in the market, what are our skills and capabilities? How do you match those two things?
Yeah.
That's how we try to do strategy.
Yeah, okay. We look forward to what that brings in the future, and I'm sure we'll discuss it again at another air show.
Lee, great having you here.
Ben, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Cheers.